Of the Cowboys and Texans game, and the Houston Texans have a 20-17 lead over the Cowboys. Sean, I was with you in the pregame show. We talked a lot about, giving the guys rest, get a lead, and don't worry about it. And it's not going as expected right now, good sir.
It's an NFL game, and as bad as Houston is, they're still capitalizing on a muff punt by Kevontae Turpin and a bad interception by Dak Prescott, which happened yet again before halftime. And credit them. I mean, they've got a really good running back in Dameon Pierce who's running the ball hard, and they are taking advantage of the situations that Dallas is giving them. I think Dallas can run the ball how they need to against this Houston front, but Dak Prescott hasn't been his best. He did throw a nice deep ball to Noah Brown on a good adjustment, but in general, he's been a little off today, and it's the National Football League, and you can take nothing for granted.
No, you can't. And the Cowboys have gifted Houston 14 points off 2 turnovers, and those are the things that can get you beat any given Sunday. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Now, penalties haven't been a huge part of this, but the 2 turnovers have loomed large. In Houston, you can tell that they're trying everything, a lot of motion, a lot of lining the lineman out and then running back and trying to confuse Dallas. But they're trying to do what they do because they understand.
They're putting Jeff Driscoll on the field?
Right. The secret weapon, Jeff Driscoll. No one has that weapon in their arsenal, and yet they have a halftime lead. Now, we've seen the Cowboys time and time again kind of play with their food against lesser teams in the first half, and they come out in the second half smoking. But you can't live off that all the time. It's almost the TCU mentality. The TCU had a lot of comebacks, and the Cowboys will have to come back again on this afternoon, to beat Houston in a game that they just can't afford to lose. Not if they have NFC East aspirations. They've got to get their S together.
Not only do they need to get their S together, injuries are now a concern. Before the game, Jaron Kearse had to be helped off. Was able to play in the first half, but he's not 100%.
Right.
Diggs has an injured thumb. He was able to come back in the game, but Hankins is questionable for the rest of the game with a shoulder, which, last week was probably his best game since he signed here as a run clogger. And, there's a number of little things that could add up to, even if they come back and win this game, that could hamper them over the final few weeks of the regular season.
And don't forget Terrence Steele. He got rolled up on, and it looked nasty. At first, it looked like, okay, that's just him stepping on deck. Oh, then the Houston Texan defender came and rolled up on him. And
they've got Ball in instead of Jason Peters on the right side, which I think is a little interesting.
Wonder if they just want to keep Peters on the left side and maybe still try to rotate him in and get Tyler Smith some work at guard before Tyron Smith comes back. I don't know. But they've got some work to do. And we talked about this in the pregame, man, and I'm not trying to say we're Nostradamus or anything like that, but you have to take care of your business and do what you're supposed to do and eyes on your own paper. And this defense has been really good all year long. And even beforehand, if the Cowboys offense put the defense in a bad situation, usually they'll hold that team to a field goal or something like that. But the Houston Texans have capitalized with touchdowns, and that's going to put you in a precarious situation if you're not careful. They get the ball back here in the second half. They could easily drive down the field, get a touchdown, defense make a stop, offense comes out and does the same thing, and then you're going to forget, okay, you know what, they're just doing what they have to do. But the only concern I have is with the slow starts, and hasn't been just this game. It's been a lot of games before, and if that trend continues against better teams, it can put you in bad situations, and they're in a bad situation right now with the worst team in the league.
Houston's not only taking advantage of turnovers and opportune moments, they're also giving – say what you will about Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll. They're 11 of 13. They haven't been sacked, and Dallas only has 1 quarterback hit on the day. So, I mean, look – the offense for Houston is bad. They're the worst third down team in the league. However, they're 4 of 8.
They're 4 of 8 today? Yeah,
so far. And Dallas is not getting any pressure on the quarterback right now because Laramie Tunsil is very quietly having what could be an all-pro season at left tackle. Now, it's not like the rest of the offensive line is very good for Houston, but that side of the offensive line is doing their job for Davis Mills, which, to his credit, stepped up, took advantage of a penalty there at the end of the first half, got his team in field goal range, and Fairbairn made a 50-yard field goal.
Fairbairn made the Jumbotron. And the worst red zone team in the NFL. They're 1 of 1 right now. So I think Houston is playing way better than anyone expected. But Dallas's defense that's been carrying them for this entire season, they have some work to do, and they need to get some stops. You can't count on 33-point fourth quarters all the time to go and blow teams out. And again, I said this, and I'll stress this, and I'll continue to stress this. It's not about how much you beat a bad team by. It's about getting the win.
Yep.
And I think if the Cowboys can keep their eyes on their own paper and they can start playing better on offense and moving the ball against this Texans defense that's been okay. But the defense getting stops against a Houston Texans offense that's been horrid this year is probably the key. So
this is, I think, the second highest point total they've had this year. Houston.
And it's halftime against a really good defense. And that's like we understand and we think that this offense can get clicking, but this defense has to play better in the second half to get a win against Houston.
I know. So Dak's got to be a little sharper. Tony Pollard just should continue to be himself because he's been running the ball great. He had that nice little Krugler said Fred Astaire on the sideline after catching that touchdown.
He did, yeah.
Really relating to all the kids with that reference.
I know.
No, Dallas's offensive line, I'm curious to see how they react after the Terrence Steele injury, but it feels like the way they were able to run the ball at times in the first half, they should just go out, play their game, run multiple tight end sets. It would be nice if James Washington could do something in his debut, but Michael Gallup only has one catch himself. But Dak just needs to be sharper. They need to run the ball. And at some point, Houston will probably give you a takeaway.
Just run it. They've passed 23 times and run it 11, and that's not what they did last week against that bad Indianapolis team. I don't know why they came out throwing it around. Maybe they wanted to surprise them or something, but they've got to run the football effectively. I never thought I'd say this. Keep that Houston offense on the sideline, and maybe you can win the second half and go out there and win this game that if you lose this one, you're going to shake your head and kick yourself in the ass the whole entire time wondering what the hell happened.
A frustrating first half Cowboys-wise against the Texans, but also Picks with Friends has had a whole level of frustration to hit too because we have Dan McDowell and Donovan in the studio. Both of their teams are not covering at the moment. Corby's got a big game later with Kansas City, so there's a lot of other tentacles in the control room right now.
Fun in the sun. Post game with Donovan, Dan.